So, in this interview, you're going to hear from Heri. I've worked with him over a year now, and I've seen him go from just starting off with his social media business to now where he's just quitting his full time job. I also got the pleasure of meeting Heri in person at my Dublin Mastermind event, which on the date of recording this was about a month ago. So, just actually connecting with him in person, seeing him there at the event on the day, networking with other people we've helped as well was just amazing. As much as we work very closely with everybody within our program through Zoom calls and our Telegram community and just texting each other back and forth, there's still always that gap. So bridging that gap in person with him was just fantastic. So stick around if you want to learn how this guy built a now six-figure a year social media marketing business while he was in a full-time job and now has the freedom to quit that to do this full-time and go wherever he wants. So ladies and gents, welcome in. Today we have Heri, who is a legend first off, and secondly, a member of my program. He's been with us for a while now, I believe in and around a year, roughly speaking, Heri. I've given a little intro before this to people to say you've pretty much just got to the point where you've now built a six-figure a year run rate with your business, which is very impressive. Congratulations, man. And just to give people that context, who is Heri? Who are you, man?
First off, thanks for having me, man. I'm glad we managed to get this in the diary. Who is Heri? I'm just a trier, to be honest with you. Like, I think to anyone watching this, you see the headline, which is made however much in a position now to quit my job. Well, I have resigned from my job, but we'll go into that in more detail in a bit. But I have tried and failed at trying to run and start an online business for like the past 9 years, right? So this is just like the tip of the iceberg. A lot's gone into it, but yeah, I'm just a person who's been willing to try and fail, throw stuff at the wall until I finally got something that stuck.
Love it. Amazing, man. So you flagged a really interesting point that I didn't know. I didn't know you've been, trying online business for that amount of time. That's years in the game, man. So let's run through that. Like, what has that looked like? What have you tried? And how did you even end up with social media marketing being the thing that kind of took off?
Yes, and funnily enough, one of my failed attempts was social media marketing.
Okay.
But it's just a long graveyard of stuff. So
Yeah.
I tried websites, I tried ebooks, I tried affiliate marketing with ClickBank,
Hmm.
tried SaaS as a software product, lead generation from estate agents. So a lot of back and forth of trying different things. And interestingly enough, I knew about this business model, and I think I was a little bit too dismissive of it. I thought, ah, that just seems a bit too straightforward. It's a bit unsexy. I'd rather just try and
Hmm.
start a SaaS company or whatever. But actually, there's a lot to be said for just doing the basics really well and just building on top from there. So I took another course because I basically, after about 5, 6 years of trying and failing, I was like, right, I've had enough. All I've gone to show for it is like $100 profit 1 month. So I took another course that helped me get from like 0 to 2K, kind of plateaued and wasn't getting what I wanted from it. Met you and started interacting with you and Ty and your program probably about around this time last year. And you guys took me from 2K to 8K a month. So 4x in that year. Um, and yeah, that's how we got here today.
Love it, man. Love it. Harry, you mentioned that you failed at social media marketing before, right? So it's not that you just found it, it clicked right away, and things were amazing. So what did that look like? Did you get
Yeah,
any
and I think this is
clients? Where did it go?
yeah, and I'd love to go into this because I just want to really emphasize to people like if a dumb person like me can do it, anyone can do it. Genuinely, I am clueless. All I have is just I'm just a bit stubborn with things. But if I can do it, anyone watching this can, right? So, and just to prove my point of how dumb I am, right? And I wish I was like making this as an act, like this is a made up story. So I signed two clients. And the way I met them is they were restaurants. There was like a Persian restaurant and a Jamaican one, and I used to just love that food. And I was just a regular. They did like a pop-up style thing. And just through like building rapport and the fact they saw me so often, I was like, oh, like guys, like what do you do for social media, right? And they're like, nothing. And I was like, oh, like I can help you with that. And they
Mhm.
just bit my arm off. I barely had to give a pitch. They were like giving me their mobiles. Here's our accounts. We'd love your help on it. Guess how much I charged them per month to show you how stupid I was.
All right. Well, I'm guessing you low balls, so I'm gonna go with 150 a month.
I kid you not. I charged them £20 a month each.
Oh my.
I kid you not. That's how
That's
clueless I was. And I wasn't even that young. I was 24. I did that at 24 years old. And I thought, yeah, man, if I have five clients, it'd be £100 a month. That was genuinely my mentality, right? I was just, and I think a lot of that was one, not knowing what you're doing, but
mhm,
also two, which is like the importance of like a program or like a mastermind is like having a better idea of what is the market rate, like what
mhm,
is the
mhm.
general consensus of what people charge. Like one of the guys even asked me, he's like, Harry, like, you gonna make any money off this? Like, I was like, yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm all over it. So that's where I've been. That's where I started,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
So it's been a long time coming, but yeah, just want to put that out there.
That's amazing context, man, because I would say most people have the opposite problem. We have a lot of people that will start with us and, they have an idea of how much they want to charge to a client. Let's say 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000. And they've probably gotten that from a YouTube video of a guy who signed a client for 3,000. So it's possible. It's not that it's not, but it's the fact that he might have been in the game 3 years and he's got a whole deck, he's got a portfolio, he's got all of this stuff to show. But it's so interesting that you had the opposite. So you had the opposite of just no idea how to price it up, 20 a month, see how that goes. And I assume that didn't last too long, or where did things go?
It barely. I think I lasted like a month each with each of them.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is you actually need to charge enough to feel motivated enough to do the work.
Yes.
Right. When I'm like fiddling around with Canva and trying to put stuff together, and it's like I'm only getting £20 from this. Like it's super hard to be motivated and disciplined. So it's actually sometimes it's in your client's best interest just to charge them more because
Yeah.
you'll take it more seriously and actually they'll take you more seriously as well.
Sure. For sure, man. And what does that evolution then look like to now? So, like, what would be the average package that you'll sell? What's in that, and what's the price point? I have a good idea, but just for people listening in, because going
Yeah.
from £20 a month to even £100 a month is a 5x in terms of price. So you've obviously had to make some big jumps to get to where you're at.
Yeah. So my lowest bundle these days is 400 USD a month. But to
Hmm.
be honest, I'm actually looking at scrapping that because a disproportionate number of my lower ticket clients who don't stay on long are actually really high maintenance. And to be honest, just I don't think they're mature enough to get the value from my service, end up being in that bucket. So I'm actually thinking of just filtering them out and making my lowest bundle 500 USD. But that's a separate thing. The and you will know this. My actual highest standard package is around the 900 1000 USD a month. But the highest package I got from Upwork, you know about, is that 2000 USD a month, which is crazy. Especially for the level of work I was actually doing. But to
Hmm.
give some actual figures for people, so my 500 USD a month, give or take, is about 12 posts a month across about three platforms. And I get about a reel about once a week, so about
Hmm.
four of the 12.
Sweet. Yeah.
The 400 USD a month, which I'm discontinuing, is about 10 posts a month, no videos included. Is that one, which is like my starter. The standard one I just mentioned around 500 USD also includes comments and replies. And then my advanced bundle is around almost a post a day across about four platforms. And there's about two videos a week, replies included and stories included as well. So that's like a rough guideline.
Decent, man. Decent. Yeah. So for people that are also thinking of charging £20 a month, hear from the man himself. It's not gonna work out too well. So
Wouldn't recommend. Wouldn't recommend.
for sure. Cool, man. Well, that gives people such a good view, right? Because as we mentioned at the start, you're in around 8,500 a month currently. So I guess just doing the math on that, what would you say your number of clients is right now? Probably between 10 and maybe 20, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was I think last time I chatted, I'm around 15, 16, somewhere around
Right.
that mark. Yeah.
Nice. Nice, man. Cool. And then you mentioned Upwork, right? I know people are going to be very curious. You know, the two biggest questions people probably have when they watch a video like this is how do you get your clients? Number one. And number two, what's your niche? Now, I know the niche, we'll touch on that. It's based on how you get clients. So if you want to walk people through that, Harry, I think it'd be really interesting. A lot of people have never used Upwork, or they have the limiting belief, right, that it's only low ticket. It's only the one, two, 300 a month clients that you'll get on there, whereas you got a deal for 2K a month. So clearly it's not the case. But for people that are listening, man, do you want to walk them through like just a rough idea of how you've gotten clients? And then if you have a niche or if you keep it broad?
Yeah. So first question, nearly, well, if not, yeah, nearly all my clients are from Upwork over the few years. Upwork works if you do, right? I think that's the bottom line. I think a few years ago it was probably even easier
Mm-hmm.
than it is now, as just more and more people have flooded into it. But just to level set and set expectations, because I one of my frustrations of the space is how few people actually talk about real numbers because it makes
Mm-hmm.
it hard to benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me 4 weeks to get my first client on Upwork. And I was probably sending about 5 to 10 messages every working day, Monday to Friday. So that's the kind of like inputs you need to get the results you like. um, and in terms of your second point around niche, I don't have a niche, and I think that's the trade-off of Upwork is like it's probably one of the easiest to start and the easiest to get some of your initial clients. The trade-off, because you're just dependent on who's offering, well, who's looking for jobs or who's looking for support, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have as much control on that the industry that you're going after. So that's the
For sure.
trade-off.
For sure.
Um, but yeah, really good, I'd say, for like beginners to intermediate. And then once you've got like a good traction system in place, which kind of the system I'm at now is then
Mm-hmm.
looking diversified to other areas as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely agree with you on that point, man. Like Upwork is definitely not talked about a lot. And the people that do talk about it, yeah, like it's important to know that nuance that it might get you to 5K to 10K a month, but it's not going to be the perfect solution to then have a 20, 30, 40, 50K a month agency. But like 10 out of 10, like you said, for going 0 to 5K a month, man, jeez, like that is where, as you've seen in the community, that's where we put a lot of people to focus on in that part, because you kind of forget about the whole niche question. Just go and get clients, see from there if there's an industry that actually resonates with you, that you can now get good results for, and they're easy and la di da. Fantastic. Go ahead and niche down, but up until that point, just make it easy, right? You've heard us say it: simplicity scales, fancy fails, but it's yeah, it's the basis of everything we do is you got to start small and keep it simple. And as you said, the things work if you actually work at them. So Upwork works, Instagram DMs, LinkedIn, it all works, but only the one that you will pick, master, and just dedicate yourself to, which you've clearly done, man.
Thank you. And another thing I really want to highlight, and it's in one of your modules, is around like reverse engineering. The quality of applicants are terrible on Upwork. Like when I talk to prospects, the one of the thing that comes up time and time again is just it is so bad. Like people are literally sending the same chat GPT AI template where the
Yeah,
words and phrases are identical. So like even if you're a beginner, it is not hard to just stand out. I was standing out before I even had my first dollar just because I'm just writing thoughtful messages that shows that I've actually read, understood, and are trying to add value to the client, right? Doesn't take that hard to do, it doesn't take much to do. You don't need to
for
be an
sure.
expert to do that, right? Someone mentions LinkedIn and then you just give some bullet point tips about LinkedIn. Not that difficult to do. Even if you don't know anything about LinkedIn, doesn't take long to just ask Google to get something to give them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's super important. And then reverse engineer. So just look at other people who are doing well in your niche, i.e., if you're a graphic designer, if you're a video editor, just look at people who are already earning money, take inspiration, and then use that to your approach. A one step further, offer a job to that role that you do, which, if you want to build an agency and eventually outsource, it's probably something you're going to do anyway. Look at the type of applicants you're getting, see who's standing out, reverse engineer why that's standing out, and
Mhm.
then apply that to yourself. Like it's literally not rocket science. Just take the proven formula, throw enough stuff at the wall, and eventually it will stick and you will get your first few clients.
Boom. Sauce. Game. Game over. Interview
Try
done. Everyone knows
it.
what they need to do. No, I
Genuinely,
love
that will
that,
take you
man.
to 5K a month. Genuinely, that
Yeah,
that alone will
for
get you to
sure.
5K a month.
I
Like,
love it, man. I love it. It's so simple, but that is literally how it works. Like you said, you could just do that. Like go on, post a job, pretend you're hiring someone, see what all the applicants are saying, spot the good from the bad. What are the good doing? What are the bad? Like simple stuff, but reverse engineering, man. Like that's why we have content around that idea because if you do that in every aspect through your sales calls, like for example, you know this better than anyone, Harry, right? When somebody has a sales call that they've taken that, it doesn't go well, like we want to review them, right? We want to go and look at that and not just say, oh, they weren't a good fit or they didn't have the money, but actually like dissect it, reverse engineer it, go back and go, right, why didn't this work? Because when I review a sales call for somebody in the program where I know that they didn't close a deal, I can reverse engineer because I'm now thinking everything they've done here didn't get us to the point of closing a deal. Everything they've done here got us to a point of not closing a deal. So now we can very easily look back and go, right, here's a couple of things that we did that might have threw them off, or things we didn't do, or questions we didn't ask. So you can do it for your sales, your outreach, like you said, with Upwork, and then of course every other aspect, hiring, systems, the whole 9 yards. Very simple concept, but very, very, very powerful, man. Harry, the Dublin event, right? In the intro video I recorded before this, I mentioned that we obviously got to meet you in person, and that was fantastic, right? And the thing I brought up was that when you meet somebody in person, even though like we would have been on calls probably every week, roughly, right? Every week, roughly, for let's say 9, 10 months, it's like I know you really well and you know me well. But at the same time, there's always that gap because we've just not seen each other in person. So obviously just yourself, man, it was fantastic to meet you there, everybody else. And I'm curious, man, why did you actually want to come? Because, most people go, we had a lot of people go who were at zero and they needed that spark, that motivation, that kind of push. But then the other half was people like yourself, where it's like, no, you're actually in a really good position, but maybe it was just a network, the community, or whatever. But yeah, just curious, man, for people that are listening in, if they're considering going to an event or they're like, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. What would be your take?
yeah. Well, I think first thing is that you're never in a position where you know everything. Like there's always room to improve.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite stories, and I'll probably butcher it, but it's the founder of Walmart, Asda, if you're in the UK. I think it's Sam something, and
Mm-hmm.
he's literally a billionaire. His grandkids don't need to work, and he only has one kind of jail conviction. Well, not I shouldn't say jail, custody
Mm-hmm.
conviction.
Mm-hmm.
And that one custody conviction is when he was in Brazil creeping around a department store because he was trying to measure like the gaps between the different products just to work out if they were doing something a bit better than he was and he could learn from. And I don't know why they put him in, maybe they thought he was trying to steal something, I don't know, but they ended up
Yeah.
putting him in custody for it. And that's like his only like conviction, right? If a billionaire can be crawling around trying to learn measuring, then what is
Mm.
my 8K a month? Like I have no business thinking I know it all. So I just want to put that first and foremost.
Love
Um,
it.
I'm also just a big believer in like networking, meeting people face to face. But actually, I think it's all well and good like networking for the sake of network. Well, let me rephrase. I don't like the idea of just networking for the sake of networking. I don't think that adds any value. I don't think that's
Mm-hmm.
helpful.
Yeah.
I think people should go to network with like real intention of this is what I want to learn, or um, what do I know that other people find useful that I can share and then can
Mm-hmm.
make a future connection that can blossom into something. I think that's the way people should approach it rather than just kind of aimlessly just say, oh, I'm just kind of here because what else am I going to do? Right. So I put those two up front, but and I know you know this, Adam, but I'll just share it just for the sake of the recording. But I had to wake up at 4 a.m. because I live in London. I took like a 5:30, 6 a.m. flight to Dublin, did the whole day and then took the flight back, right? But to me, it was important just to kind of meet people in person and make connections. I was meant to go to like a holiday house with some of the guys as well, with some like Alvi and stuff.
Ah, yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately didn't work out just because like logistics and stuff. But like that's the kind of connection that I would never would have made if it just stayed on the screen. But now because I
For
just met
sure.
the guy in person, he's actually really cool. That might then in the future blossom into something else. So it's like we hang out. And I know Ty and Alvy's like travel together and all this sort of stuff. So you can just forge deeper connections. And in like other areas of my life where I've been part of like forums and masterminds, like I have found incredible value from just networking with people. Example I'll give is I'm in like a self-improvement forum and there's a guy who I only knew as a pen pal. We made a connection. Turns out he's a software developer. I've known him for like 2 years, and I kid you not, before this call with you, Adam, he was helping automate some of my flows in my agency free of charge just because we like each other and I just consider him a good friend
Amazing.
now, right?
Amazing.
That's the power of just getting to know people. But you don't come at it as like, oh, what value can I take? What value can I steal?
Yeah.
It's very much a freely give, freely receive, and
Hmm.
just things work themselves out.
Love that, man. Love that. Like, I completely agree. I can't state it enough. You might remember in our promotional content for the event, I remember explicitly in our our sales video, hyping up the event, me saying, like, this is not just a networking, come and extract value. It's you come and I think everybody who went had that same mindset. Like there was nobody just there trying to like pry information from everybody and then take it and not share anything about what's working for them. Like everybody was just chill, chatting, letting it flow as it should be. That's I think why I personally enjoyed it so much hosting it, because hosting it is there's the stress and the organization and this and that. But at the end of the day, I was like, that was amazing. That was 10 out of 10. What a way to spend the Saturday. So yeah, man, amazing time. Also, like you mentioned, I think that's so important. Of like you could join a forum, a network, a community, a group like ours, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to come out with a pen pal or somebody that you actually form that relationship with. Like you have to be willing to go in, share, be vulnerable, give value, and then you'll find that person for sure, for sure. And that's the beauty of it. Like you'll probably get invited to whenever the next, six-figure accelerator little entrepreneur house is happening, which could be in a couple of months. So yeah, man, it'd be great for you to get out there.
For sure. For sure.
Cool, man. Well, appreciate you running me through that. I was definitely curious to get your thoughts. Harry, the big one on probably everybody's mind watching this is you have just done the quitting process. I know we just talked off camera and you said, you just have to like do a few weeks, basically see at the end of the contract, and then you're sweet. You're good to go. Most people watching this probably are in a job. I'm going to assume they probably don't love it either. And, hearing you be able to do that is a source of inspiration, a beacon of light, of hope. Yeah, they want to get them. And so, what was your kind of thought process behind the numbers? So, what I mean by that is, did you need to make a certain amount in terms of revenue with the agency for you to feel comfortable enough to make that leap? Because it's a big leap. And some people make that leap when they make half of their salary in their business because they're like, hey, it's enough. It's proof, it's enough for me to go, this has legs and I could see more potential. So I'm going to quit. Others need to make a lot more from the business or, at least maybe match salary or something like that. So what was the kind of process for you? And was it purely numbers or was it a case of just needing to feel that security as well in yourself to actually make that leap?
Yeah, no, it's an excellent question. You hear all sorts of different formulas and like
Mm,
variations of what people recommend. For me personally, it was a combination of numbers and my emotions, to be frank.
cool. Yeah.
So for me, the numbers I really focused on is my net profit in
Hmm.
relation to my net salary.
Cool. Yeah.
And when it reached a stage where my net profits were like higher than my salary,
Hmm.
bearing in mind I'm spending like what 20 hours a week, well, not even that, to be honest, 10 to 15 hours a week on the business compared
Hmm.
to I've gone part-time now, but let's call it 20 to 40 hours in the in the day job, it then means that I'm getting comparable results for half the time.
Yeah.
Then it just became a bit of a no-brainer. And I think the emotion side of things is that when you're seeing this progress and you're feeling the ego, you're excited, just you just get a bit restless. It's like, I can't, what?
Yeah.
I can't just stay here if I've got this going on and I've got client messages coming in, I've got sales messages being like, yeah, I want to talk. Then it just becomes a lot easier to make the decision.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was both numbers, look at your net profits,
Hmm.
and then also emotions, just see how you feel. I will really stress, and I have to give my mom a shout out for this. I was making comparable kind of net profits this time last year.
Hmm.
I wanted to quit my job there and then. My mom gave the good advice. I said go part time.
Hmm.
I went part time. It was a shit show. Started this year in terms of like lost clients, the whole host of stuff. Recovered from that. I've come back stronger. Had to restructure the team, all this sort of stuff. But actually going part time just allowed that transition to feel a lot smoother, and also kind of proved to myself after I rebuilt the business that okay, this isn't luck. I know
Yeah.
what I'm doing. Let's run at this. So
Amazing. Yeah.
definitely just exercise some caution and not jump
Hmm.
too soon because you don't want
Yeah.
to go from a really great position to a very uncomfortable.
100%. 100%. There's a few times I get asked this question, Harry, because like we have, there's one guy, Johnny, I always think of. Like Johnny's, hit the 10K a month mark. His agency's got a real high profit margin, like 70, 80%, real cash flowing business. But his job is still 40 hours a week. And he's definitely not making the same money from his job. He's making considerably less money. And, some people see that and they're like, that's insane, like mental. Why would he stick with the job if the agency makes him so much in a lot less time? But it's exactly what you mentioned. I think he's very aware that he needs to have a good amount of time of making that amount of money with the business to know it's stable, secure, and it can actually grow and continue to go that way versus what you mentioned. Like if you do jump way too soon, yeah, okay, you might get up to 3K a month in profit and then you lose three clients and you dip back down. So yeah, I think it's super important for people to hear that from someone like yourself that's gone and done that, because it's easy for me to say, jump and quit your job and go start the business because it changed my life. But at the same time, we're humans, we've got responsibilities, we've got bills, you've got an insane amount of stress that could come in that kind of situation if you didn't prepare like you did. So awesome, man. Shout out to your mom. That's good
Shout out,
advice.
mom, man.
Yeah.
And I also want to give a real, this is one of my real personal reflections is that a lot of people, like Hormozy always talks about like skills stacking, right? Which is the whole concept of, let's say, you're an accountant, so then you have some accounting clients, then you learn some more complex accounting, and then you can charge more and go for higher end clients. Then actually you learn more skills, and now you're a CFO, and then you lead up an enterprise, and like you stack these skills in order to earn more. A concept that I think is really underrated and not enough people talk about is just like life stacking or like lifestyle design, right? So a bit about me, I've worked before the business like two jobs for probably about 3, 4 years. So I had a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. I live in London. London's an expensive city.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had
Mm-hmm.
a weekend job on the Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that weekend job basically funded my dreams, right? That's what funded
Mm-hmm.
me to be able to buy my first course for like 2K.
Mm-hmm.
That's what allowed me to be able to risk money on like Upwork Connects or buy a spare laptop or buy whatever equipment I needed. And although it wasn't ideal, you might be like, oh, he's working 6 days a week. That's just a sacrifice it took. Um, Another thing to mention is the average commute time in London is 40 minutes. I've now had two jobs where my commute time was 10 minutes walking. That wasn't an accident. I did that
Yeah.
myself, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you're in a situation where like, okay, you work at a warehouse and you're commuting 1 hour, you just getting the same salary or maybe even slightly less, but now your commute time's only half an hour, you've just doubled the amount of time that you can spend on trying to grow your dreams and business on the side, right? And then if you just keep on finding these little hacks of like, okay, I've reduced my commute to 30 minutes, right? Now I've managed to get a promotion, so now my salary is a bit higher, or just sit down with a pen and paper and just figure out how to get these little marginal gains. You do that enough times, you can then put yourself into like a really good position. And people
Oh
look
man.
around and you'd be like, oh, that's so lucky. But it's like, nah, bro, there's no
Yeah.
luck involved in this.
I can hear that. I can
So,
hear people thinking that right now, being like, that's lucky, you know? Like you didn't do that, Harry. That was it just happened for you. Like, no, bro. You are the one that had to you did the actions that led to those results for sure.
and anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Genuinely, anyone can do it.
Love that, man. You might remember at the event, Harry, I talked about internal and external locus of control. Because for me, it was the one thing I learned in college, like the one thing that always stood out to me from some psychology lecture I took. And exactly that situation that you just explained, like that is you exercising a very internal locus of control. Because you said, I'm in a situation, which is my job, that I can't just quit. Okay. I can change parts of it. I can't just quit. Whereas if someone's going to approach that with a very much, victim mindset, everything is not their fault. Nothing in their life is their fault. It's all their boss's fault, their partner's fault, whoever's fault. Well, then, yeah, you're not going to be lucky, right? But Harry is going to be lucky because he's going to be in a situation he doesn't want to be in, and he's going to go, cool, what could I possibly change? And he actually takes the time and looks through his options. And like you said, you found a job where you could walk in 10 minutes and boom, we've just gotten like an hour per day now extra that you can hustle with no loss, like no loss at all, an extra hour. It's such a profound concept for me, man, because anything good in my life only ever seems to come when it's the internal locus of control. When I have to, if
100%.
it's a shit situation, go and put my hands up and go, right, I was at fault. I did something wrong. What can I do differently? Or if it's an amazing situation, same thing. Don't just go, wow, great time of the year. Things are working real well. But like, again, reverse engineer. Why is it working? What can I actually learn from this? And of course, the market is something I cannot change. I can't alter that myself by pure will or thought, but I can change how I interact with the market, which will change the result I get from the market. Very, very important concept. I think everybody should look into it if they haven't already. But you'll notice a lot of people in your life, if you're in a job you don't particularly like and you're with coworkers that mightn't be too supportive of your little online business that you're starting, are probably going to fit into that external locus of control bucket. And that's not to tell them they're wrong or to put them down or fault them, but just to be aware of that because you need to step into internal and take full control, responsibility of everything you do. And of course, then the actions you get. So, yeah, such a profound concept, man, that, changed my life. And I can see like so much of what you've said already clearly shows that you embody that, whether that's the label you put on it or it's like you said, lifestyle design or something else. If you can do that, you are set. Like everything in life will come your way. I truly believe that.
100%. And this is where I'm going to step into the bit more like the woo spiritual side of business. I think
Oh, I'm
Jordan
ready.
at the event spoke
I'm
about it.
ready. Yeah.
But genuinely, man, whether you want to call it God or the universe, like it just rewards work.
Mm.
Like and me and my friends have spoken about this. Like the number of times where I might be going like crazy in terms of like outreach messages, sending systems, and I'm just getting no after no after no. And then the universe will just drop me a carrot where a client just comes in and says, "Oh yeah, I like the look of your profile. Let's get started." Like,
Mm.
and it's weird because it seems so completely unrelated, but I feel
Yeah.
like it is. Like you have to do the work first, then you get rewarded for it. It's never the other way around. And it might just feel useless or you're just in a dead end, but genuinely, if you just do the work consistently for a long enough time frame, you get rewarded. I've got a thing on my whiteboard that I've got behind me. I won't go into it now, but I was just feeling like it was the early summer and I was just in a bit of a slump. And I just put just whatever it takes for as long as it takes. And I felt like when I just committed to that, it just eased off. Because like you can't fail at that point. Because it's just like I'll just do whatever and I'll do it for as long as I need to do it. And you mentioned around like internal locus of control. I think a big part of that has to come from like your internal motivations.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I asked myself the question like, okay, Harry, let's say you fail for another 10 years, 20 years, however it is. Let's say worst case scenario, I am now 55 with my social media management online business. I work from my laptop, right? Worst case scenario. And I thought, you know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely okay. And I think if it's genuinely aligned with what you're trying to do, that idea doesn't scare you, and then you can just go full on at it because you know you'll be
Love
fine either
it.
way.
Love that, man.
So
How
just
did
find
you,
that intrinsic thing. Yeah.
my question to that, Harry, is how did you develop that, like that sense of belief and almost trust in yourself? Because I would agree, like very similar to my journey. Like that's kind of the mindset I had, was I will do this thing until it works. Simple as. No if, ands, or buts. Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter if it's 2 months, 2 years, doesn't matter. But it's just like that commitment, that willingness to just go, yeah, I trust myself and I'm gonna just commit to this. Yeah, how did you build that up? Did you always have it
All right.
inherent or something you had to develop over time?
I'll do bad news, good news, right? So
Let's
I'll do
go.
the because again, we when we talked offline before recording, like I don't want to sell dreams to people because I think there's a lot
Yeah.
of that in this space. So bad news, it's just been inherent, just the way I am, to be honest.
Hmm.
Ever since I was
Hmm.
younger, I just had delusional belief, whether it was
Hmm.
warranted or not. A lot of that's upbringing. My parents just did a real fantastic job of like instilling self-belief in me and giving me like permission to fail. So
Nice.
that's hard to replicate. You
Of
had that or you
course. Yeah.
don't. The good news is the the best way to build that, and I've used it myself, so I know it actually works, is you have to commit to small things, achieve them, prove it to yourself
Mm,
that you can achieve them, and then stack them on top of each other.
love it.
So Jordan Peterson talks about make your bed in the morning, right? That's become
Mm,
his whole like
hmm.
catchphrase,
Hmm.
right? It sounds ridiculous, but I remember at times when I was like a customer support rep and my boss, who's earning more than me, is more senior, talks about how that bedroom is a mess. And I had this weird little sense of pride of like, oh, but my room's always tidy and I've always got things to do. Right? It is ridiculous, but like you just have to kind of brainwash your brain to just
Yeah.
absorb these things, right? And then after that, it's like, okay, my colleagues are just talking about watching Netflix, or my friends are just going out clubbing. Okay, what did I do Friday night? Okay, I was just working on the business. Another little small stack to your brain, like I know I can do that and commit to it. And
Love
then
it.
you just keep on stacking these things in different areas of your life of just proving to yourself time and time again that you're the person who commits to something and sees it through. And then eventually you build that self-confidence.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Yeah, real good caveat there as well, right? Like you said, upbringing, your parents, shout out to them. Like they laid an amazing foundation for you to build on. And of course, like that's not something we can teach, That either happened for you or it didn't. But if it didn't for somebody, it still doesn't, it's not like you can't now do this thing. It's like look at how many people out there have come from like real rocky upbringings. I don't know if you've seen this in the space, but I've almost witnessed more people coming from rocky upbringings that then have
100%.
this insane desire, like insane burning need and desire to be successful and to make things work. And so I think whichever kind of part of the spectrum your childhood is looks like or whatever, yeah, there's a way at which you can still make this work, but it's just going to be different for each person. Yeah, and I
100%.
think that belief as well, man. Like I think a lot of people have that belief, but then they silence it. So like you said that you kind of always had that. You've probably heard the term delusions of grandeur. Like some people just are, they're 12 and they're thinking about how they're going to become a millionaire. And it's not that they saw some guy talk about it online. They just, some reason, they just had this thing in their head, which then there's, of course, other 12-year-olds that are just thinking about, like, cool, it's not raining today. Like, throw on the football boots. And that's my biggest dream today. But that delusion of grandeur is something that you can, like, when you have those thoughts, I think we all kind of have them to a certain degree. Like, you have to entertain them as well. Because, like, a lot of my friends back home, they would have had big goals. I remember when we were young and we'd always talk about them and be like, I'm going to do this. And, like, imagine if we did this thing, that would be insane. It'd be amazing. And I think that maybe at one point, maybe someone told them that they couldn't do that, or maybe they said it to themselves, or whatever the case was. I feel like we all have that kind of like initial block, and it's how we then build on that is what's going to determine. Now, if you're watching this and you're like, nope, Adam, I've never had any thoughts of I'm going to do great things, and never, you've never had that idea. That's fair enough. I can't speak to that, but from everybody I know that's done something, but also, hasn't quite got there yet, they've had that belief. And it's just about building on top of that.
Definitely. Just stack it. Start
Stack it.
small. So like I said, I was super excited about my bedroom being tidy and clean. Like it
Yeah.
can be anything. It can
Yeah, I
literally
love
be
it.
anything.
Love that, man. Such a good example. Such a good example. You obviously read 12 Rules for Life, I assume.
I haven't.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah, I haven't read it. I used to be more of a reader back in the day. Now I feel like I'm just in the trenches now. I don't really read
Yeah,
it as
yeah.
much as I used to.
Too much business.
Yeah, literally. Literally.
No, solid, man. Solid. Some good insights there for people. And it's on the topic. And this is kind of the last thing that I had bullet pointed that I wanted to weave into the conversation, right? Was really the question is, why do you think you kept going? Because, like you said, you've failed many times, not just at this, at other businesses, but you kept going. And we've just touched on that there. You always had that sense of belief. Okay. But like in the moment, as in like start of the year, you lose a few clients, things are not looking amazing. And you have to face that and you have to realize like things are not good. It's a very, your stomach drops. It's a very awkward moment. How does your brain work to then go, cool, I'm going to go fix that? Like, I'm going to go now and actually build the systems and do what I need to do. Because if I could wave a magic wand with everybody we've ever worked with, it would be just that I would be able to just input, give them a little USB, pop it in their brain where they could have a roadblock, have a couple of failures, and they would just keep going. Because I know time in the game, inevitably you will get results. It's a matter of when, not if. It's just a fact. Unless you just don't do the work, that's different. But if someone commits 4 months, like there really isn't a way at which it doesn't work unless they've been kind of lying to themselves about the work they have been doing, or they just actually didn't do it for that amount of time. So that's like my strong, strong belief is if we could solve that for people, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Like easy, man. The coaching business is just, it's a breeze at that point. So walk me through it, man. When you have those moments, what's your thought process? Do you go negative and go, this is terrible? And then you kind of flip that and you see the amazing side of that, like the potential to rebuild better? Or how does that work for you?
Man, I'm gonna come at this at so many different angles, man. So forgive me, right? I'm,
Let's
I'm warning
go.
you now. I'm gonna go different tangents, right? So first off, I already want to give some real tangible value, which is don't try and put a square peg in a round hole. I am a real big believer in self-awareness. If people don't know what that Myers-Briggs are, Myers space
Hmm.
Briggs. Please, if you haven't done it, look at that, do the test, learn about yourself. Another one, Enneagram. This will show how bad I'm at spelling. Enneagram. Go there, do the test, look at that. The reason I say that is because there's just going to be some things they're naturally good at and are good for you, and other things that are not. I tried to do software and SaaS when I had no business doing it, right? You're just lucky. You're looking at a computer just on screens all day. Some people thrive in that, and some people would be miserable like me. I pivoted towards social media and it just worked because that's just where my skills and tendencies went.
Mm,
So, first step is know yourself and put yourself in the right vehicle, right?
love it. Yep.
Just really want to make that super clear to people. Second thing, how did I push myself when I was in that moment? I think it was, and we talked about this in the event, and it's so cliche, and people don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, to be honest, but it's knowing your why, right?
Yeah.
And you need to tie it into something really emotional. And I'll just share it with people for me. And I'll also share something that you don't even know, Adam, of like some
Hmm.
stuff I was going on behind the scenes, which I think is the unsexy, uncool stuff that people
Hmm.
need to hear.
Hmm.
So I'm an immigrant, right? I was born in Tanzania. If people don't know, East Africa.
Hmm.
Zanzibar has now become the popular location, so you probably know about Zanzibar. I speak
Yeah.
Swahili, got half my family there, etc., etc. When we first came to this country, we didn't have much, and I had an uncle. Mjomba means uncle in Swahili. Mjomba Msanif. He was just such a selfless embodiment of like what I aspire to be like as a man, right? It was him and his wife, two kids in a three-bedroom flat, no house, sorry, and there was eight of us. God knows how the hell he convinced his wife to deal with like six other siblings, but not all heroes wear capes. And we lived in that house for like 3 to 5 years. And off the back of that, my mum bought a house, my auntie bought a house, and like everyone ended up moving and getting their own places and actually being super comfortable. That would have happened as a family if it wasn't for my uncle. And I remember that being such like a sticky embodiment in my brain of someone I just respected more and more as I got older, of like the kind of person I want to be. And yeah, I won't put the street name because this is gonna go out in different places. But I've got the street name in the UK, and like my kind of heart motivation was like, I want to be that person for my generation, right? But I want to do it in my style. I don't want a 3 bedroom house. Maybe I want a
Yeah.
villa with a couple,
Yes,
self,
sir.
yeah, I mean, self-serve. You got your ensuite. Things are good. Like you're comfortable, right?
Yeah.
You're not back to back with your cousin. You got your own bedroom now. Things are good, right? And that is just a complete emotional, non-logical
Mm.
driver for me.
Hmm.
Another driver for me is another uncle who ran a business. He was like one of the few people who ran a business in my family. And I remember just looking at his life and thinking, I want that. How did he do it? Business? Cool. Then business is for me. And I remember me
Yes.
just making that connection like 8 years old. Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. If that's what I need to get there, fine. That's what I'm doing. Now, it's all well and good having the motivation, knowing yourself and knowing where you're trying to get to. When you start going through it and it's just shit and things aren't working, I remind myself this is the barrier to entry. This is why not all your colleagues have a business. This is why not all your family members have a business. This is the barrier to entry. When a prospect says yes to you, then changes their mind. When a worker of yours messes up the work, the client asks for a refund, and then you still pay them because you just want to have that self character and you're doing it more for yourself than for them, that's the barrier to entry, right? And you have to remind yourself when it gets shit, this is great because this is where loads of people mess up. And maybe you have to have a bit of a mental illness. Honestly, I think entrepreneur brain should be observed because I think we're not quite right. We're not normal. Like, I myself think I'm on the cusp. I think in another world, I would have been a general employee and been happy with it. But I think I'm just on the borderline of just being a bit weird. And to tell you the story of something that happened that you don't know, I, after early summer, where I lost a bunch of clients, my cash flow was terrible. So even though I was, and this is a good lesson for people watching, even though I was profitable, I think I was doing about probably like 1K-ish a month profitable, like net profit. I was actually in the red because of cash flow, because I had a team. So my clients were paying me at one time in the month. I'll then pay my team at like maybe a few days after. And then sometimes maybe if a client delays to pay me or things get
Mm.
missed, I was actually in the red and paying my team out of my savings. What I did to fix that is I made sure all my clients now pay me on the first week of the month, and then I pay my team on the 15th, and that fixed that. What I did in the meantime is I was working a hospitality minimum wage job literally earlier this year in the summer while running a business and working my 9 to 5 at office. Because I just did the math, I dropped my ego aside, and I said, look, if I need to work and like serve people food to get my cash flow right and rebuffer my savings, so be it. And I kid you not, Abdom, I wish I was making this up, but as I was like scraping mayonnaise off people's plates or like carrying glasses, I was literally smiling to myself because I was like, I've proved to myself I want it bad enough.
Love it, man.
I've proved to
Absolutely
myself
love
I
it.
am serious and I want it bad enough because no one's doing this. No,
Facts.
no one's leaving a cushy office job to go scrub plates because they believe in that business. That is as barrier to entry as it gets. Um, so that's my long-winded answer. I told you I'd go off in a tangent.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Like even that first bit about your uncle, like that's just fucking cool, man. Let's be real. Like that's just character. That's just character. It's so cool. Every time I do one of these interviews, man, I swear there's a moment in the interview where I'm like this is why I love doing them. And that moment of you talking about your uncle and then actually getting the hospitality job as well, man. That's it for me. Like that gives me all the fulfillment I need to To do these, man, that's so fucking cool. That's all I can say about that. Shout out your uncle, shout out your mom.
Yeah.
Sounds like some real good characters in the family, man. It's clearly passed down.
Yeah, and it's a big
Mm,
motivation for what I do, man. I'm just like it's a Nas quote. He's like, my greatest honor is being my son's mother or something like that, right? Because genuinely, like, it's very blessed to have the family I do, and I feel like it's only right that I just make something of it.
that's it, man. You just got to keep paying it forward, right? You're gonna build
Absolutely.
that next generation, and house 5 or 6 people in your mega villa, and go
That's
from
it,
there.
man. We're taking it to the next level. And I have a plaque with the same street name as well. That's what
Love
I'm doing.
it. Unreal, man. So cool. And yeah, just to recap on that, man, like I totally agree. That's why we talked about it at the event. Knowing your why is it's powerful. And there's times where you are going to get distracted from your why and you're going to lose sight of it and you're going to forget that and you're going to have a bad day, bad month, like you said. But that's the moment when you really tap into it and you go, all right, am I truly dedicated to that why? Is it big enough? Is it grand enough? Does it mean enough? And that's why you might remember, Harry, we kind of talked about, of course, financially, that's what we're focused on a lot of times. But that why normally for the people that, push the furthest, it's not just the finance, it's what the thing brings. It's the character you become, the person, the version of yourself you become on that journey. And so, I had a point I mentioned in the event where I hit a milestone, a financial milestone that I looked up to for a long time, and then I hit it. And then it was a moment of like, holy shit, is something wrong with me? Why am I not happy? Like, whoa, I hit the thing that I wanted to do for a long time. And that's when I had to reevaluate the meaning under the finances as to like, why did I truly even want it in the first place? And what was it now going to do? What could I use that money to go and do? And, a lot of that for me came back to family as well. So for people watching, I agree with Harry. He's speaking facts. All right. Do that. Sit with your why. And, when you have those thoughts of grandeur, of belief, of you're destined to do something, entertain it, entertain it. Why not? Like, would you rather dismiss that and just live a life that you actually hate? Or would you rather be called a little bit wild and crazy and weird? But then to know you look back when you're 60 and you go, fuck yeah, man, I did it. Or at least I tried really hard and, I expressed who I truly was. I think that's the beauty of this, man. It's like business is an act of self expression as well. So,
For
yeah,
sure.
we've gone woo woo, man.
I know, I know. I did say I might go off there, but
Hey,
no, I
that's
think
cool, man.
it's a big part of business. And I think people don't really think
Mm-hmm.
about it because they think, it's very left brain. But
Mm-hmm.
like you said, man, it's an expression of you. Like how you build a business is going to be very different to how I build a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And it is an expression of yourself for sure.
big
Sure.
time. Big time. All right, Harry. People at this stage are probably like, this guy Harry is fucking cool. I want to see more of him. Where do I go? What do I do? Where can people find you, man?
Yeah, oh man. So it's Heri Builds on
Mm-hmm.
all platforms. I was meant to actually organize my accounts and stuff before even hopping on this, but I've not done it. Um I I'm on an absolute mission to be one of the few people who actually lives his raps and is more busy actually being that guy than recording myself being that guy. So
Mm-hmm.
forgive me if the content's not much there, but it's going to be Heri.builds, Heri.builds. YouTube videos, all of that stuff's coming. Feel free to
Love
connect
it.
with me. Um, yeah, man. And I'm no better than you. Simple as that. Like, if I can do it, any person can. And I genuinely believe that.
Boom. Love it, man. That was 10 out of
Yeah.
10. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Nah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. We'll chop it up again soon. And for everybody watching, like that. Follow Harry. You know his socials now. Take a look, see what he's doing, and give him a thanks from me as well for hopping on. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one. So there you have it. That was the interview with Harry. I hope you enjoyed it, and I think he dropped a lot of wisdom in there that hopefully you're going to take a lot from. If you do want to work one on one with me and my team, like the exact help that Harry got that took him from just starting to now being able to quit his job, you will see a link in the description of the video that will show you some of the options that we have. Go ahead and check that out. And of course, if you have questions, you can reach out to me directly on Instagram, chat with me there, and we can see if you're a good fit.